difference is unbelievable.
Oh.
And it's all this little incrementalism, little regulation here, little regulation there. It's time to end abortion.
Amen.
Yes, it is.
And the amazing thing is, each one of us has that opportunity right now, just by going to our website. It's so easy. We're not even asking, we're asking you to send money. This is for free. You get to do this. You get to do this.
Do you realize how important the church is?
Yes.
The church is the salt of the earth.
That's right.
And the church can do things.
Yes.
If we do it.
Right.
If we do it together.
Yes.
And that's why it's now.
Right.
And I'm telling you, this is, I'm just concerned that we miss this moment, because this is part of this grace moment.
Yes.
Well, you know what? The viewers that watch your program, I'm convinced they're not going to miss this moment. I believe they're going to go to your website and they're going to click that button. We're going to send more faxes than they've ever seen. And you know what I love about this president is, and I believe the reason God picked him, and he's not perfect, but you know what? He is not the establishment rhino kind of guy.
Right.
What if President Trump, next time you talk with him, ask him if he'll send out a tweet that says, if a heartbeat's detected, the baby's protected. Hashtag pass the heartbeat bill. What's National Right to Life going to say? Well, the president's more pro-life than we are? No, they're going to pass this bill. And that's what I think is really exciting about this.
Wow.
We're not status quo, business as usual. We got a guy in there who's going to shake things up, who says, you know what, I'm going to get things done. Well, that's what I'm counting on, and that's what I think that when we bombard Congress with the faxes of the people, then they're going to pay attention to it, because they're going to realize these are voters. These are the people they work for. You know, a lot of people are intimidated. Oh, my congressman, I don't really know what to say. Guess what? Tell them you're giving them a job performance, because they work for us. You know, they're our employees.
Yes.
And they need to realize that. And come election time, I think they are. By the way, we talked about this, Tom, what the midterm elections are going to be. A lot of people are upset about some things Congress has done and not done.
Right.
You know what? What I believe is going to bring out the base, just like it did in the presidential election, is if we pass the heartbeat bill. We see a victorious vote on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. The people of the pro-life communities are going to come out in droves.
Yes.
And they're going to make sure that majority gets returned to finish the work that we elected them to do.
Exactly right.
That's right.
It's going to be a new spring for America.
Yeah.
Life will come back.
That's right.
There's going to be a blessing on the country if we turn to God and we do what God wants us to do. It's so important. Tom, you got like 170 co-sponsors already for this bill.
More than any other bill, any other pro-life bill.
Can you name any of them, and can you tell me how you got that many? That's
after after Janet called me, and I jumped on board and welcomed the second chance to actually end abortion. We went to work, and we went to Washington, D.C., and I got to go door to door again, and we started knocking on doors of members of Congress, and the doors started opening, and we started talking to them about the heartbeat bill. Of course, the work that Janet had done in Ohio, and the stuff that had gone on in North Dakota and in Arkansas, and now going on in Iowa and other states. There's going to be about 17 states working on a heartbeat bill as we speak. The members started, and that's important, because every one of those states have congressmen, and every one of those states have senators, and if the state's working on it, that puts a lot of pressure from the bottom end, and we're putting pressure from the top end, and members are having to do what they promised the American people they would do. And so more and more came on board. Unfortunately, we got up to about 170, and somebody out there, probably National Right to Life, were calling members to get them off of the co-sponsorship. We're calling, telling the leadership not to give us a vote, calling other, they've got lists too, like everybody else. They knew those that when you co-sponsor a bill as a member of Congress, it goes in the public record that you are a co-sponsor. So they pick up, see who's co-sponsored, try to get them to come off the bill, and then they try, those that aren't on the bill, try to keep them off the bill. And so that's made it even more difficult. But as we've been telling people, if the people will stand up and shout out, enough is enough, I want to stop abortion, it will happen. God can use those people to make it happen. And it'll be exciting that day that the president signs it.
I have to say this thanks to Christine DeLay, Tom's beautiful wife, who let him come with us to the Hill all those weeks, all those months, and walking door to door and working the Hill. And so it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yes.
You really believe we can do this?
I don't have any doubt. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. We are given this chance. I don't know if I wasn't going to mention this, but I remember when Barack Obama was sworn in, I made a vow to God. You know, I was like a lot of people who were just, you know, despondent of what's going to happen to our Constitution and our freedoms. And I made a vow to God. I said, God, if you give us another chance as America, I promise I will use the freedom we have for everything it's worth. And this is our chance. This is what we prayed for. This is what we worked for. And this is our moment. If we miss it, it may not come again. It may never come again. And I just believe that, you know, when I'll just say, I tell people, Tom's heard this many times, I say this because I believe this, we're going to end abortion.
Yes.
That what we're going to see is we're going to end abortion. And Tom, when I remember, we were first walking down, the first time Tom came with us, and he says, Janet, you know what we're going to need? You know, how many members are we going to need to get the halfway point? What is it, 118? 218. 218. He says, you need 218. And so my faith said, well, Tom, I think we're going to get to 218. He says, well, what do you think I'm here for? Yeah, we're going to get to 218. We're going to get the votes we need to pass it. And so I don't have any doubt. We have the hammer. The reason, as I mentioned, that the enemy came so hard against you is because you were used so effectively by God. They did the same to Tom. He was called in an attack ad about, or an attack piece about him being the hammer. Well, we went down the hills of Congress and we said, it's hammer time. We've got the guy who is telling people what's going on, the respect. I got to tell you something. Doors opened up and they said, you need to be Speaker of the House, Tom DeLay. You know how to run this place. You know, which I think is a really good idea. There's maybe people want to help him do that. I think he'd be an awesome Speaker of the House and you'd be a member of Congress. But I just know that this is a guy that knows if it can be done, and he says it can be done. Am I right?
It can be done.
It will be done.
And the bigger picture is, if we end abortion, God is back in control and back in the public square. And we have defeated Satan, who kicked God out of the public square over the last 60 years.
I mean, our government's removing crosses from churches, from buildings. It's insane, people.
Yes.
And we sit back and we accept it. I'm not accepting it.
No way. And by the way,
I feel like I'm a voice crying in the wilderness so many times.
Right.
And we don't have to accept these Supreme Court rulings. Just like a Bergefell, it didn't settle marriage any more than Roe versus Wade settled abortion, any more than Dred Scott settled slavery. No, we need to rise up and stand for God's principles and use the freedoms. We have more freedoms than we ever did. We just need to use them now for everything that it's worth. Think about it. You have how many people that watch you? Millions who could turn to that website right now and send a fax to all of the district offices, the D.C. offices.
Wow.
I'm telling you what, that could, right now, I believe that we are in this historic moment, that this show could be the tipping point to bring the killing to an end for every child whose heartbeat can be heard.
Do it. Let's do it. Tom, your book, Revival, Revolution, and Rebirth.
Yes.
Oh, here's a copy of it. Tell me about this and a little bit by how does this tie into what you're doing right now?
Well, this book is something that God laid on my heart. You don't have time to hear it, but I actually had a mountaintop experience, a literally mountaintop experience. And the Lord told me to write this book. And this book is about my political experience and what did I learn from 22 years in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I learned two things. One was, as we mentioned earlier, is God has been kicked out of the public square. Yes. You mentioned it when, you know, I heard another story when one of these kids came up after a school shooting and said, God, why did you let this evil person shoot up my school? And he said, and the Lord said, well, I wasn't invited into your school. And so the point is that God is out. This country will never turn around unless we put God back on the throne. Amen. And into the public square. That's right. Until we put the Bible back into the public schools. Until we stand up to the judiciary that is so anti-God. And we can stand up. You don't have to pass a constitutional amendment. I passed 5 bills my last year as majority leader telling And Article 3 of the Constitution allows the Congress to do this. We can tell the courts what cases they can or cannot hear. We can limit their jurisdiction, and we should when they take off and do illegal rulings like Obergefell or Roe v. Wade or these other things that are undermining our but in my book, I talk very strongly about how we need to put God back in and beg him to come back into the public square and have a revolution for the God-inspired Constitution. Mm-hmm. We have so gotten off track and shredded the Constitution over the last 50 to 60 years. It's totally, even Republicans don't adhere to the Constitution anymore. And I lay out in the book all the things that we could do to have a revolution for the Constitution, and starting with shutting down those agencies and departments and regulators and things that are unconstitutional and go from there.
Wow.
Amazing.
I got to have you back.
Yeah.
The middle word is revolution. It's going to take a revolution.
It's going to take a revolution.
A spiritual revolution, a revolution. This country's in trouble, people.
Yeah.
It's in trouble. You have walked through evil and attacks that, what is it, 18 years did you say?
18 years they tried to get me.
18 years.
They finally did in 2006.
But you didn't go to prison.
Well, they spent 10 years on a criminal trial, and I was convicted in the trial level and sentenced to 3 years, but then I was exonerated by the next 2 levels of appeals courts. Yeah.
Praise
The
God.
courts freed you then.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid that we're getting judges that are not honest, that they're biased.
Well,
And that's what's scary.
our law schools don't teach the Constitution, for instance. Did you know that?
No, I didn't
They
know
don't
that.
teach the
No,
Constitution.
that's just shocking. That's just shocking.
The Constitution,
Our
God
law
has used it to
schools
protect
don't
our
teach
country.
the Constitution.
They'll tell you, oh, we teach constitutional law. No, I'm talking about the Constitution and doing more than just memorizing the preamble.
Tom, I know our time's going,
Yeah.
but you got to answer a couple questions. What going through the valley? My valley, I learned more in the valley, I guess, than I did on the mountaintop. What did you learn through those 18 years more than anything else? Maybe 3 things even you could give me. But
Oh,
one
boy.
thing that coming through it, you know, I can't tell all I learned because
It's hard
I
to
would
tell.
hurt people.
Yeah.
And government agencies, what they did to me is basically what's going on with Trump right now.
It's tyranny. It's tyranny.
Government agencies took videos of my television program and edited thousands of little pieces together and made me say things I had never said.
Yeah.
Do you know why today I'm a free man and today I've been exonerated? But nobody knows that. I won the last trial after prison.
Yeah, my first name is disgraced. When I'm ever reported in the media, it's disgraced Tom DeLay.
It should be fully exonerated Tom DeLay, fully
Exactly.
exonerated Jim Bakker.
Exactly.
That's what we should be insisting on.
That's
because
right.
I'm not
the truth.
whining. I'm not whining because
No.
I praise the Lord for what I went through. I praise him for every minute of it. I praised him while I was going through it because he set me up. I came to Christ when I came to Congress in 1985.
Wow.
And for 10 years, he taught me how and prepared me how to go through this.
I didn't understand a political system of enemies.
Oh,
I should have never walked with presidents. I should have never got involved
that's what
with
they
all the
want you to
presidents.
do. They want other people to see what happened to you.
Yeah,
It's a
it scared
political
me.
strategy. They want to scare anybody that might stick their head up and stand up for and unashamedly for Jesus Christ because they're going to come knock it off.
That's right.
And it scares other people to get involved.
That's it.
The warfare that's on the daily news, just watching news, just watching all the things every day that happens in this country is war between good and evil.
That's right.
Exactly right.
Isn't it war?
Absolutely. You described the system. You know why the system is where it is?
Why?
Because Christians have done nothing about it.
Exactly. Just like in 1973. I remember when I first met and married Jim, I said to you, I said, where were the Christians in 1973 when Roe versus Wade passed through the Supreme Court? And I'm sitting here listening to you today saying that was unconstitutional.
Yes. Illegal.
Illegal. And I said, Jim, where were the Christians? I just wanted to know because, I was a new believer. I was trying to understand all of this. I was like, why didn't they get together and do something? Yeah. Why did they let this happen? Because it was just like, well,
I think it was the con
like you said, Jen, we're not going to get.
The church feel that they couldn't do it, that it was illegal.
Before Roe v. Wade, they took prayer out of the schools.
Right, 1962, 63. That was when I was in first grade.
Exactly.
So my generation got hit hard because all of a sudden, and I meet more people that were born the same year I was born in 57, and they were in kindergarten, first grade, and they're like, well, we didn't have Bibles in school. We didn't have God in school in public school anymore.
That's
They
right.
have the Ten Commandments. People might actually, obey them. Thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not lie. That was what the court said. We better not have them because they might actually do them. And now we've got school shootings everywhere.
Yeah, and people wonder why, exactly. And that is why today is so important. This is why we are here today. This is why Janet, thank you for what you've put together. Thank you for fighting for life.
Thank you.
My God. It's just,
Janet is the part.
Janet
is a very important part in these last days. This is a period of grace that we're living in at this moment. And all hell's about to shake loose, believe me. And our only hope is to do it now.
That's right.
We have a president who, by grace, God let him get in.
His mercy.
Yeah.
It's God's mercy.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Tom?
It is.
You're smart enough
If it's
to
not
know.
already.
It may be over.
Yeah, I worked with Bill Bright and Chuck Colson and others, just begging the Lord for a third awakening.
Yeah.
I do think it's happening. I don't know that it's an awakening, but I know that Christians are coming out of their churches. Pastors are doing much more than what they've done in the past. They're getting more and more involved in what's going on in their communities, in their states, and in the nation. Not as much as I would like to see it happen, but there are. The Lord is cleaning out His church. I see that all over the country as I travel around the country. So something's happening.
Yes.
And I want to be part of it.
Yes.
Hey, and you know what? Everybody watching can be a part of it.
That's
Click
right.
the button, send the faxes, and that may be just what brings this thing over.
That's
We've been
right.
given that second chance,